Previously, she was destined to be empress, until the emperor she loved died for her and was erased by the throne. She crossed battlefields to find him, only to discover he had lost his memory and loved another woman. Love survived, but power was waiting to strike. Yuzhou celebrates the festival of 1,000 lanterns. When night falls, every household releases sky lanterns into the heavens, praying for blessings and for disaster to be driven away. Our group planned to go into the city and join the festivities. There were only 3 horses, so we paired up. At first I wanted to share a horse with Sophia Fu. I'm a decent rider and archer. Taking her along wouldn't be hard. But Sophie quietly pulled me aside, cheeks pink. Adrian Pei was always lukewarm toward her, and she really wanted to use this chance to get closer to him. So I rode with Julian Nan. Sophie rode with Adrian, and Iris rode with Alexander Chen. It had been a long time since I'd dressed up. Sophie and I fussed over ourselves in the room for most of the day. When we finally stepped out, Alexander and the others were already waiting under the trees, holding the horses. The moment Julian saw me, he whistled and teased. "Coco looks gorgeous in white." I shot him a glare. Then, without meaning to, I glanced at Alexander. He was dressed in black today. It made him look solemn. I actually liked him better in white, gentle and clean, or in red, festive and warm. Anything was better than black. Black always felt like a bad omen, like hardship. He looked at me too. His dark eyes brightened for a moment, then dimmed again. He seemed a little lonely. He looked unhappy. Whenever Alexander was unhappy, I always wanted to do everything I could to cheer him up. Years of habit. I couldn't stop myself from wanting to go over and talk to him. Sophie tugged my sleeve and whispered, "Remember, we're acting." So I forced down the urge to go to him. I lowered my head, walked silently past his side, and went to Julian. A chill ran down my spine. Julian reached out to help me mount. I didn't need it. I stepped into the stirrup and swung up. Julian smiled and climbed on behind me. I felt awkward. All this time, the one beside me had always been Alexander. Quietly, I watched him as he waited for Iris. He seemed impatient, head lowered as he kicked at the stones on the ground. He rarely showed impatience like that. He almost never showed emotion. In front of others, he was always modest and polite. Iris finally came out. Smiling, she went to take Alexander's hand. They both smiled, talking about something. I strained my ears. I couldn't hear a thing. All I heard was Julian sighing by my ear. So this is what it means to be in one camp, while your heart's in another. Now I've seen it. I pinched the back of his hand. Shut up. Choosing beauty over friends. After Alexander helped Iris onto the horse, he paused. He stood there a moment, as if he didn't want to mount. Iris leaned down and smiled sweetly at him. "Alex, let's go." Still smiling, after showing up half a day late. Shameless. I was staring hard at them when Alexander suddenly turned his head. I quickly looked away. That was close. My stare must have been terrifying just now. Good thing he didn't see it. In front of Alex, I always tried to keep up appearances. We finally set off. By the time we reached Yuzhou City, night had fallen. In the sky and on the ground, along the roads and over the water, above and beneath the bridges, lanterns drifted everywhere. Light flowed like a river. It was bright, lively, warm. Like a dream you stumble into while half asleep in a drifting boat. So beautiful it didn't feel real. We tied the horses by the bridge and began to wander. The market was packed. Street performers, monkey shows, fire breathers, and pitch-pot stalls were crowded shoulder to shoulder. It had been so long since I'd been part of such bustle. I dragged Sophie along, weaving between stalls and squeezing in to watch. I spotted a pitch-pot booth. The first prize was a small porcelain bottle. The owner claimed it held a skin-clearing balm, good for scars and blemishes. People nearby swore it worked wonders. One girl with flawless skin said her face had once been burned. After she used the balm, it healed soon after. I wanted that balm. When I stepped up to throw, a Yuzhou girl named Rose wanted it too. She challenged me to a match. Fine. A Jinan girl didn't have to lose to a Yuzhou girl. But the stall owner insisted that for pitch-pot, couples had to throw together. Rose hooked her arm through her lover's, lifted her chin, and said to me, "You're going to lose." Even alone, I could beat the two of them. Couples, right? I could just grab someone and make up the numbers. I turned to look for Julian. Who knew where he'd run off to? I had no choice but to drag Sophie over and ask the owner, "What about the two of us?" Does that work? The owner said it had to be a man and a woman. Those were the rules. What an idiot. Rose stuck out her tongue and pulled a face. No lover, no game. I was about to argue back. Then someone closed his hand around mine. I'm her lover. The voice was firm. On the streets of Yuzhou, Alexander held my hand tightly. His gaze was lowered, and he looked at me with the faintest smile. His hand was warm, warmer than all the lanterns in Yuzhou put together, 1,000 times over. I squeezed his hand back with all my strength. Then I lifted our joined hands and smiled at Rose in triumph. I have a lover. Let's compete. Don't cry when you lose. I didn't even get the chance to show what I could do. Alexander wrapped his arms around me from behind. One hand rested on my shoulder, the other covered mine, guiding my throw. Every toss dropped cleanly into the pot. As long as he was beside me, I couldn't lose. The crowd erupted in cheers. Rose started crying and took it out on her lover. I pulled a face at her. Not only do I have a lover, mine is incredible. Rose stamped her foot, covered her face, and ran off. My vindictive streak was something else. I burst out laughing. Alexander stood beside me, smiling as he shook his head. At last, I had the balm. I couldn't stop grinning. Alexander brushed my cheek and said with a smile, "You wanted it that badly? Your skin's already clear." Yes, I really wanted it. I wanted to win this prize and give it to you. I placed the little porcelain bottle in Alexander's palm. I wanted, with my small bit of strength, to help Alex smooth away his scars. He froze, hesitated. Then he raised a hand and touched the scar on his face. Eyes lowered, he asked quietly, "Do you mind?" His voice was so faint, I shook my head hard. "No. Scar or no scar, you're handsome. I just thought, if you don't want that scar, I can help you. We can erase it together. I just want you to have a choice." A faint smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. He gently took my hand again. Somewhere, a crowd surged in, pressing shoulder to shoulder. The street turned chaotic. Alexander said, "It's too crowded. Let's get out first." I looked around, trying to find Sophie so we could leave together. Then I saw Iris. I hadn't even realized she'd come over. Her gaze was poisonous, vicious, fixed on our joined hands. "Alex, how could you leave me alone and come play by yourself?" She stepped up close. Then suddenly she gave a strange smile. I couldn't be bothered to look at her. I turned away. But out of the corner of my eye, I caught a cold, sharp flash of silver sweeping toward my abdomen. My heart lurched. Before I could grab her hand, a sudden searing pain tore through my stomach. I couldn't believe it. I looked down. My white dress bloomed red in an instant. Iris. She was unbearable. This was the white dress Alexander had given me. I clamped both hands over my lower belly, trying to slow the bleeding. Then I heard the sickening sound of a blade tearing into flesh again. Something crashed to the ground. The crowd screamed. I was so unwilling. I wasn't afraid to die. But before I died, could Alex come back to me? The one who hit the ground was Iris. When she tried to drive the dagger deeper into my abdomen, Alexander stopped her. The scar on his face was swallowed by the dark night. He looked cold, severe, grim. The metallic scent of fresh blood rose from his black clothes. Looking for death. Terror spread across Iris's face. A dagger plunged into her abdomen without hesitation. Her blood poured out like floodwater. I heard her voice, thin and trembling. "Alex, why?" At first, she couldn't believe it. Then she started to laugh, a low chuckle that swelled into wild, crazed laughter. Her expression twisted. Teeth white as snow, stained red with blood. "You shouldn't have touched her." He stood in front of me, shielding me. His right hand held mine tight. My Alex was back. Iris finally stopped laughing. Her face went stiff and blank. She stared at him as if in a daze. She reached for his hand and grasped only air. Her lips trembled as she whispered, "Alexander Chen, did you never feel even a little for me? You jumped into the water for me. You gave me everything I wanted." I couldn't see Alexander's expression. I only heard his soft laugh. "You overestimate yourself." Iris shook her head as if possessed. "Impossible, impossible." She seemed to realize something. She laughed again, then cried as she laughed. In the end, her crazed, venomous stare shot toward me like icy needles. With all her strength, she cursed me. "Chloe Lynn, today he killed me. Tomorrow he'll kill you. You're no different from me." Iris died. Fireworks bloomed in dazzling colors across the vast night sky. It should have been peaceful, joyful. But suddenly, beneath the city walls, iron cavalry thundered in. People screamed and fled. Countless sky lanterns fell from the heavens and hit the ground. In the blink of an eye, Yuju became a tangle of chaos, blood, and terror. Cold blades slaughtered the festival crowds. Cruel hooves trampled hearts that had been joyful only moments ago. Blood splashed across the festival of 1,000 lanterns. Enemies poured in from all sides, charging at me and Alexander. They'd gone mad. Alexander held my hand with one hand and cut down attackers with the other. I gritted my teeth and endured it. I forced my eyes open, watching the strikes and warning him. I couldn't become his burden. At last, Julian and the others found us. But we were outnumbered. Still forced back. If sheer will could keep a person from ever falling, that would have been nice. Before the last of my consciousness slipped away, I heard Alexander say, "Julian, take the 2 of them and go. Go to Pingyang Prefecture and borrow troops. Her uncle is there. Adrian, stay, hold the city with me." I didn't want to let go of his hand. I was terrified. But he pried my fingers open one by one. His warm fingertips brushed away my tears. "Coco, don't be afraid. Be brave." My hand went empty. I didn't want to be brave at all. But if I wanted to stand beside him, I couldn't be a coward. Yuzhou was the first line of defense on Shiling's border. Not long ago, Shiling had just defeated Great Leon. The border defenses had grown lax. No one expected the defeated Great Leon to strike back so soon. There had to be a traitor inside Shiling. With its troops stretched thin, Yuzhou couldn't withstand Great Leon's wolf-like cavalry. After 2 days and nights without rest, we reached Pingyang. I begged my uncle to send troops to save Yuzhou, but he said it would be difficult. First, Great Leon had heavy forces surrounding Yuzhou. They meant to take it. Second, Yuzhou had too few troops and too little food. The routes were cut off. Intelligence couldn't get out, and reinforcements couldn't get in. There was no way to coordinate from within and without. Third, the border prefectures weren't prepared. The urgent priority was to increase troops and provisions, stabilize the rear, and prevent more cities from falling one after another. 2 days had already passed. Maybe Yuzhou had already fallen. My uncle wanted to abandon Yuzhou. I said Alexander was still in Yuzhou. He was the crown prince. My uncle said Shiling had already named Ethan Chen as crown prince. Whether Alexander lived or died, he was already considered someone bound for the imperial tombs. There was so much injustice in the world. Alexander fought with his life and won. But in the end, what did it matter? All his achievements were wiped away. No one remembered him. I had Julian seek help from his father's former students. Sophie went to raise money. I quietly stole my uncle's tiger tally and went to the Pingyang garrison to mobilize troops. The commanders at the garrison recognized me. They laughed at me. "Little girl, stop messing around." A few old generals kept drinking, laughing loudly. Some younger ones sat by the bonfire, shouting over dice games and gambling. No one took me seriously. My face hardened. I pulled my horse to a halt, raised the tiger tally high, and shouted, "All soldiers follow my command. Those who refuse will be executed on the spot." Some of them looked up and slapped their thighs, laughing. The rest kept playing, as if my words meant nothing. I swung down from my horse, grabbed a nearby officer, drew my blade, and with lightning speed slashed into his arm. Blood splattered across my face. I didn't even blink. I smiled and said, "Sorry, wrong place." Then I slid the blade to the man's neck. He dropped to his knees with a thud, sweating as he yelled, "We follow the commander's orders." Killing one to warn the rest worked well. They finally stopped gambling and drinking. The whole camp went quiet. I scanned the crowd, gripping the dripping blade, my face cold. "What? Do you want me to do it one by one?" They dropped to their knees like a wave, voices roaring like a landslide. "We follow the commander's orders." My aunt was the Empress Dowager. My father was the Right Chancellor. My uncle was Pingyang's Supreme Commander. Even if they all knew I'd stolen the tally, they wouldn't dare throw me out of the garrison. But they looked down on me. They thought I was a weak girl. They meant to brush me off, stall until my uncle arrived to stop me. But they were wrong. Chloe Lin was not someone they could afford to offend. Even though my palms wouldn't stop sweating and my legs trembled under my trousers, and the wound on my abdomen felt like it had split open again, stinging sharply. Still, I did it. I hid my fear well. I thought Alexander would praise me for being brave. I had to go to him. That night, I regrouped with Julian and Sophie. With troops and provisions secured, we marched to reinforce Yuzhou. Beacons, smoke, and the pounding of war drums swallowed Yuzhou city. Alexander trusted I would come. He held the city and endured to the last moment. I trusted he would wait for me. When Yuzhou fell, I arrived. Through endless flames and relentless slaughter, I saw him from afar. He stood guard before the crimson and gold war banner of the Blackbird, cutting down wave after wave of enemies without tiring. Firelight lit his handsome face. Iron armor sharpened the fierce lines of his brows and eyes. Suddenly, from far away, he looked back. An enemy stood behind him, raising a broadsword, ready to bring it down. My heart jumped into my throat. Then the corner of his mouth lifted. Across the firelight, a gentle smile slowly appeared. With a backward thrust, he drove his blade through the man's heart and lungs. The enemy collapsed into the pile of bodies. I nearly cried. On this side of the flames, I used every ounce of strength to give him my brightest smile. It seemed to reach him. His smile widened. Still fighting, he strode toward me, unwavering. At the moment of victory, he finally reached me. The air reeked of blood. Triumphant drums thundered in my ears. Countless corpses lay at our feet. He seized my shoulders, lowered his head, and kissed me hard, nearly fierce. His taste flooded my mouth with ruthless force. My tongue went numb. That sharp, overwhelming tingling spread through my limbs, down to my very bones. My knees nearly buckled. He reached out, hooked an arm around my waist, and studied me in silence for a moment. I looked back at him. I had so much I wanted to say. 1,000 words surged up, all fighting to come first. In the end, I said nothing. He gathered my hair, brushed my cheek, and lowered his eyes. He pressed the back of my head and kissed me again. A kiss sworn to death, to the end of time. He murmured, "Coco, thank you for not giving up on me." Later, I asked him when his memories had returned. He went quiet for a moment, then said it was that night, the festival of 1,000 lanterns, the moment I was stabbed. After that, we learned the truth. Iris was from Great Long. She'd been sent to kill Alexander, but in the end, she couldn't do it. Iris was hateful, but also a little pitiful. We also found the one who had betrayed Yuzhou, a young officer with the surname Lin, distantly related to our family. A nameless unease settled in my heart. I was afraid. Adrian had said it before. In the last war, there were times when the enemy seemed to know our movements. The army had many of my aunt's trusted people. Then I forced myself to stop. How could my aunt betray her own country? We returned to Jinan. The Battle of Yuzhou won Alexander the people's support. Memorials poured in like snowflakes, demanding that Alexander be restored as crown prince. Public support was unstoppable, but the decision still rested in the hands of a few. My uncle by marriage wavered. My aunt firmly backed Ethan. Several powerful ministers at court, Julian's father and the left chancellor, remained neutral. My father stood with my aunt. Adrian's father struggled for a long time. In the end, after Adrian urged him again and again, he chose to support Alexander. As for Tutor Bai, Bianca Bai's father, he still hadn't decided. Support from General Pei alone was nowhere near enough. My father locked me inside the residence. I couldn't see Alexander. Alexander went to ask my uncle by marriage to grant our marriage. He was punished to kneel again. At home, I refused to eat. On the third day, I fainted. When I woke, Mother pinched my cheek. Tears shone in her eyes, yet she smiled as she said, "What kind of girl throws away her parents for a man the way you do?" I buried my face in her arms. "Mother, I only want him, no one else." She smoothed my loose hair and said softly, "All right." Mother had a huge fight with Father. She refused to eat with me. Father tried to coax her into eating. Mother smashed the bowl, sneered at him, and said, "I only have one child, Coco. Unlike you, with a whole house full of sons and grandsons." Father's face went iron blue. Mother threw a divorce letter in his face and said coldly, "Victor Lin, we're separating. I won't watch Coco be killed by you people." Father shook with rage, tore up the letter, and stormed out. Mother had never liked Father much, but I'd never seen them fight this viciously. I was scared. Mother held me tight. She soothed me. "That kid Alex is the only one worthy of our Coco. And that Ethan, what is he, really? Don't worry. With me here, I'll protect you. You'll get what you want." In the end, Father gave in. He promised Mother he would go persuade my aunt, but my aunt refused to budge. Then, at that moment, Lucas Gu suddenly stepped forward and accused Ethan of colluding with the enemy and betraying the nation. He had detailed evidence, including correspondence and seals taken from Iris. I couldn't tell anymore whether Lucas Gu was good or bad. The court erupted. My aunt still tried to turn things around. She said it needed further investigation, that they couldn't rely on a single accusation, but what she didn't expect was that Ethan was an idiot. Terrified of being deposed, he panicked and lashed out. He tried to force Tutor Bai to take his side. He nearly raped Bianca. He meant to make it a done deal. But Alexander stopped him. Alexander kicked him off Bianca. Bare and shaking, Bianca fell into Alexander's arms. He wrapped her in his own clothes and escorted her home. Not long after, with the support of Tutor Bai and General Pei, Alexander was restored as crown prince. Ethan's treason and collusion were confirmed, and he was reduced to a commoner. My aunt finally agreed to my marriage with Alexander. But a grand wedding is a celebration meant for three. Bianca and I entered the Eastern Palace on the same day. I was the crown princess. She was the secondary consort. The first night of our marriage, I poured all my resentment into his mouth, biting down hard. He said nothing. He pinned me beneath him, braced my legs as I kicked and thrashed, and tore at my red wedding robe. Liar, don't touch me. I fought to wrench free. My sharp nails raked across his clean right cheek. A thin line of blood surfaced at once. Tiny beads welled up. An invisible pain surged in from every direction. I hated him, and yet I still couldn't stop myself from caring. He still didn't seem to feel it. He even smiled and rasped, "Coco, we're finally husband and wife," as if he needed to prove it. Under his hands, the red robe was shredded. In the end, a strip of my red underbodice showed. We both froze. We suddenly remembered the first time he'd ever seen it. My anger drained away. Heat rushed to my face. He leaned close to my ear and murmured, "Coco, I'm not alone anymore." I opened my mouth to mock him. Of course he wasn't alone. He'd married 2 wives, but I couldn't say it. Cold words, gentle words, none of them would come. He waited a long time and heard no answer. His gaze dulled. In the silence he spread his fingers and threaded them tightly through mine. I have a home now. My wife is my Coco. In the future we'll have many children. We'll have a lively, happy family. Tears streamed down my face. He kissed them away, patient and careful, like something spoken in a dream, soft and faint, yet unwavering. He said, "Coco, I only love you." He didn't even try to explain. Just a few sentences. A brush off, and the wall I'd built inside me collapsed with a roar. He knew exactly how to soften me. He drew me into his arms and rubbed his chin against my hair. Just like that, he slipped past it. If only we hadn't met so early. I didn't know how much he couldn't control. I didn't know how much he'd swallowed, how much anger and grievance he carried. Then I could have hated him openly, with my head held high. But I met him too early. I saw everything he suffered with my own eyes. I couldn't bear to let him suffer again. The second night. The crown prince was supposed to spend the night with his consort. I barely touched dinner. I went to bathe and sleep. Hot water could rinse away exhaustion. Last night had been tiring. The day had been busy too. My eyelids felt heavy. In the dark, drifting haze, my lashes suddenly itched. That tiny itch spread slowly. To my forehead, my nose tip, my lips. It was seductive. Comforting. I thought I'd finally managed to have a sweet dream. Then someone cupped my face. I jolted awake. Alexander Chen was right in front of me. He smiled softly. He had them set out dinner again. We ate together. He seemed hungry too. He ate a lot. I bit my chopsticks and glanced at him. "Didn't you already eat at Bianca Bai's?" He picked up a piece of meat and stuffed it into my mouth, and kept eating. When we returned to my family on the 3rd day visit, in the morning he went to my home. In the afternoon, he went to Bianca Bai's. He talked politics with my father and the others in the main hall. I stayed in the back courtyard with mother and my sisters, whispering and chatting. As we spoke, my second sister nudged my eldest sister with her elbow. My eldest sister looked toward the corridor. Mother followed her gaze. All 3 of them covered their mouths and smiled at me. Suspicious, I turned around. Alexander Chen stood under the eaves. His face was faintly red. He cleared his throat awkwardly and said, "Mother, eldest sister, second sister, you're all here." Mother burst out laughing. She pulled me into her arms and smiled at him. "What is it? Afraid the crown princess will get lost? You've come out looking for her 3 times already." My eldest and second sisters couldn't stop laughing either. I shot Alexander Chen a glare. He rubbed the bridge of his nose. I just came out to look at the flowers. I'm done, so I'm going back in. Mother, my eldest sister, and my second sister teased me all morning. After lunch, Alexander Chen was supposed to accompany Bianca Bai to Tutor Bai's residence. I walked him to the door. He held my hand and spoke softly, like he was bargaining. Can you not stay the night at home? I'll come pick you up tonight, okay? I still missed home, so I refused. But after dinner, Alexander Chen came anyway. I thought he was here to haul me back to the Eastern Palace. I was sulking when he said, "The carriage broke down. I'm not leaving today." He stayed and slept at my home for the night. When no one was around, I couldn't help it. I pecked him on the cheek. Later, Alexander Chen somehow got his hands on some sparklers. We took the little nieces and nephews and played with fireworks at the entrance. Mother and my eldest sister leaned in the doorway and watched us. My sister-in-law came out to keep an eye on the children too. She leaned there, smiling along. After a while, Father came out as well. Seeing how happy Mother was, he pulled her down to light sparklers. Mother scolded him playfully. "At your age, aren't you ashamed?" Father coaxed her. "You look about the same age as Coco." Alexander Chen chimed in too. Mother-in-law and Coco look like sisters, not mother and daughter. For the first time in their lives, father and son-in-law worked together. They sweet-talked Mother until she beamed. Father held Mother's hand as they lit sparklers. My second sister ran down to play too. She got so absorbed that when she stepped back, she bumped into Adrian Pai, who'd come looking for Alexander Chen. He steadied her. Adrian Pai hadn't even spoken when my second sister hurriedly shoved him away. "You again, you shameless rake." She turned and stormed back inside. Adrian Pai caught her and said with a smile, "Sophie, keep playing. I'll leave right now." The sparkler flames were faint, but they were beautiful. Our whole family hadn't been this lively or this happy in a long time. I turned to look at Alexander Chen. He lowered his eyes and smiled at me. I smiled back. In the firelight, his smile softened even more. "Coco, you finally smiled." My nose stung. He wrapped an arm around me from behind and covered my hands with his. Amid laughter and chatter, we lit sparklers together. I was crowned princess for only a brief year before I became empress. When I was crowned princess, there was a happy newlywed period. It lasted only one short month. A month later, Bianca Bai became pregnant. 8 months after that, they had a child. He coaxed me, saying that only the child I had with him would count as his child. I believed him. But on New Year's Eve, he didn't come. I went to find him. He held their child and smiled under the lantern light, chatting with Bianca Bai about ordinary household things. The child called him father. I thought I would never give up on Alexander Chen. But in that moment, my blood turned cold. I finally understood. He wasn't mine. A love carved into bone isn't something you can quit in a day. He still came to eat with me, to sleep with me. He still shaped my brows and painted my nails. Nothing changed. Sometimes I drifted, greedy for his gentleness. I even thought that if we had our own child, maybe things would get better. But I never conceived. He soothed me gently. "Don't rush, it will happen." Days passed in quiet calm. Until one day, my uncle was gravely ill, and the crown prince began acting as regent. Ethan Chen, who had been stripped of rank and reduced to a commoner, suddenly accused my aunt of being the true mastermind behind treason and colluding with the enemy. The evidence was airtight. Before my aunt was given poisoned wine, she summoned me into the palace. Like when I was little, she stroked my head indulgently and held me close. She said, "Coco, I lost." She told me many things. Alexander Chen never lost his memory. When he jumped into Amber River to save Iris, it was all part of his scheme. Lucas Gu pretended to defect to my aunt. Adrian Pai knew everything from beginning to end. They staged a flawless play. They knew my aunt would ambush him on his way back. So Lucas Gu defected. Alexander Chen faked his death and her guard went down. Iris was the opening. Alexander Chen played along with her and obtained crucial evidence. Lucas Gu, after joining my aunt, gained access to even more confidential proof. Working together from inside and out, enduring and lying low, they waited for the chance to crush her in a single blow. As for the battle in Yuzhou, that was an accident. But that accident made Alexander Chen. It won him the people's hearts. My aunt died. I walked back to the Eastern Palace alone through the vast night. I remembered his lost expression when he saw me, fallen into wild thorns. He hadn't wanted to save me, had he? I was an accident outside his plans, wasn't I? And the lotus seed soup Iris made for me was poisoned. He knew it, didn't he? If I hadn't been able to tell, I would have drunk it. He never even tried to stop me. In Yuzhou, Iris stabbed me and he killed her. I thought he was avenging me. He wasn't. It was only because Iris had no more use. By the time we were in Yuzhou, he already had all the evidence. So that was it. Iris's curse was terrifying. In truth, she and I were the same. He married me because I had value. After all, there was no bigger fool under heaven than me. Maybe I never knew Alexander Chen at all. Maybe the Alex I knew was always fake. He could wear gentleness for anyone, even if he didn't mean it. I stumbled back to my sleeping quarters, shaking all over. I tore through boxes and cabinets, packing to go home. I missed home. But he appeared. He wouldn't let me go. He asked me to believe him. He seized my hands, pushed me onto the bed, and kissed me. My tears and his tears mingled, soaking the bed. I still ran back home. He came to fetch me. The whole household turned icy. Alexander Chen was no longer the son-in-law and brother-in-law who bought fireworks for everyone. He held me as we slept and threatened me. He said, "The Empress's case isn't closed. No one knows who else in the Lin family is involved." He got what he wanted. I told Mother we'd only quarreled and that we'd made up. Mother held my hand, reluctant to let go. She tucked a stray lock of hair behind my ear. She said, "Coco, if he treats you badly, come back. I'll always be here." I held back my tears and forced a bright smile. On the way back, we sat in the carriage. I hugged my arms and curled into a corner. Whenever he touched me, I trembled all over. I couldn't stop trembling. Frustration tightened his face, then he raised both hands to cup mine. In his dark eyes was the same gentle light as always. "Coco, don't be afraid of me. I won't hurt you," I asked, trembling. "Alexander Chen, what else do you want?" A tear shook loose from his lashes and burned onto the back of my hand. "I want you. I want a home for us. Coco, you and I are family too." I said nothing. He had a family. He and Bianca Bai already had a child. The three of them were a family. As for me, I was just an accident. What was he trying to do? What did he still want with my family? Not long after, my uncle died, and Alexander Chen ascended the throne. He became emperor. I became empress. Maybe because my uncle on mother's side, my father, and my eldest brother still held great power, he had to make me empress. Bianca Bai was the noble consort. Everyone in the harem knew the emperor favored the noble consort, and that the emperor and empress were on bad terms. Bianca Bai and I never got along. In the harem, we still didn't. Once my cat ran into her palace. She blocked it and nearly beat it to death. I rushed over and saved my cat. I had them tie her up and gag her. Looking down at her from above, I slapped her a few times. She wailed through the gag. I yanked the cloth from her mouth. She screamed in fury. "What right do you have to hit me?" I wiped my hands and smiled faintly. "I'm the empress." "What are you exactly?" "You're just a noble consort. If I want to hit you, I'll hit you. I don't need a reason." She suddenly frowned and collapsed to the floor, weak and pitiful. She cried toward the space behind me. "Your Majesty, it's my fault. I made the empress angry." Alexander Chen was behind me. So, he'd seen his empress being vicious. He was going to stand up for her, wasn't he? I turned to him and dipped into a shallow bow, smiling lightly. "Emperor, is the empress title you gave me only for show? I can't even deal with a noble consort?" He looked at me in silence. After a moment, he lowered his gaze and said, "The empress is mistress of the inner palace. No one may stand above you." I smiled faintly. Alexander Chen's footing still wasn't steady. He still needed to keep me, his empress, on his side. As for Bianca Bai, he must have been confident he could soothe her. I swept my sleeve and left. That night, he came to eat at my place. I hated it when he showed up at mealtime just to spoil it. I fed the little cat at my feet. The cat and I ate happily. I acted as if he weren't there. Eunuch Li watched anxiously from the side and spoke up to remind me. Only then did I glance at him. Our eyes met. He lifted his chopsticks and put fish into my bowl. I smiled, then gave the fish to the cat at my feet. He slammed his chopsticks down and walked out. I smiled coldly, but at the door, he turned back. That night, he slept in my Phoenix Song palace. He wanted me to bear him a child. I didn't know what his reasons were, but I cooperated. It was only a duty. I needed a child to secure my position. Not long after I was pregnant. When the imperial physician said it, I sat there, stunned for a long time. I sat on the steps with my chin in my hand, looking down at my still flat belly. A child. A child. A child of Alexander Chen and Chloe Lin. I was lost in empty thoughts when I heard hurried footsteps. He lifted me from the steps and buried his face against my chest. His voice was full of joy. "Coco, we have a child." He said it again and again, over and over. I thought I was the foolish one. In that moment, it felt like he was the truly foolish one. What could this child possibly give him that he was so happy? And yet a faint joy stirred in me. The nausea was severe. I missed home. Mother came into the palace to see me. She made so many baby clothes, so many little tiger hats. Patiently, she told me everything she knew about being a mother. So being a mother wasn't easy. Pregnant women are sensitive. I clung to her and cried. I missed home. I wanted to go back to the past. She panicked and asked what was wrong, whether I'd been wronged. I shook my head, wiped my tears, and said no. Only then did I realize how much Mother had endured for me. Mother touched my cheek and shook her head with a smile. It wasn't hard. Not hard at all. The happiest moment of my life was the first time I saw you. Your little mouth was smacking, blowing bubbles. I'm so old now, and my Coco is going to be a mother. I'm going to be a grandmother. Mother won't get old. You'll still help me raise the baby. We talked and laughed. Father also had Mother bring a gift for his grandchild, a simple longevity lock, but heavy in weight. My eldest brother sent a jade pendant to ward off evil. My eldest sister and second sister sent clothes they'd sewn with their own hands. Maybe I was too happy. My body improved. I ate a lot. The physician said I was very healthy. Every night, Alexander Chen rubbed oil on my belly, saying it would prevent stretch marks after the birth. We rarely had moments this peaceful. I teased him for being so experienced. His face fell at once, but he didn't dare vent at me, afraid of frightening the baby. Before a storm, there is always calm. Something happened to the Lin family. A corruption case implicated my eldest brother. Pull one thread, and everything unravels. By the time I heard, it was already dire. It had reached final review. Once the verdict was set, the Lin family would be confiscated. I was terrified beyond measure. I went to beg Alexander Chen. He refused to see me. I waited outside the door. It started snowing again. My hands and feet were ice cold. At last he opened the door. Expressionless, he said, "Even the Son of Heaven can't bend the law for personal ties." My tears trembled. I gripped his hand tightly. "I can give up everything. Money, power, even my empress title. Take it all back. Just let the Lin family live." His face darkened. I fainted and disturbed the pregnancy. I lay in bed for a month, but he agreed. The day I gave birth to Leo, the sky was overcast. I bit down on Alexander Chen's hand until it was mangled. It was unbearable. I nearly thought I would die. "Coco, don't give up on us." His tears were so hot. I made it through. When I woke, I saw tiny Leo with his eyes closed, little bubbles gurgling from his mouth. My heart softened at once. I was a mother now. I missed my own mother. Alexander Chen held me and held the child. He rested his forehead against mine. He didn't say a word. I asked softly, "Can you let my mother and the others come into the palace to see the baby?" He froze. After a long time, he said they could come after I finished my month of recovery. He was afraid that if I saw them, I'd cry again and harm my body. But Bianca Bai came. She couldn't wait to tell me the Lin family had already been confiscated. The Lin family was gone. They died on the way to exile. I kept dreaming. Always dreaming of the fireworks that night on the third-day visit. So faint, and yet that faint light made everyone's smile look so gentle. Father held Mother's hand tightly. Mother smiled softly at Father, a little dimple in her cheek. My second sister, awkward and blushing, tugged Adrian Pei and shoved a sparkler at him. "Hey, want one or not?" My eldest sister leaned against the doorway, smiling, gentle and serene. My eldest brother hoisted my little nephew onto his shoulders to light sparklers, laughing loud and bright. The nephew peed without a sound, right onto my eldest brother's face. My eldest brother's face soured. He smacked the child's bottom a few times. The nephew cried. My sister-in-law gathered him into her arms and soothed him softly. Alexander Chen hugged me from behind, his arms so warm. I smiled and tipped my head back to look at him. He smiled back at me. In those dark, beautiful eyes, there were stars that never went out. But when I woke from the dream, there was only a long night and bone-deep cold. I lit a small night lamp, slid into my shoes, walked to the window, and pushed it open. Snow drifted and drifted outside, like wild children with nowhere to go. So many things from the past, I couldn't remember them anymore. I was afraid of being clear-eyed. Xiaochen heard movement and climbed up too. She lifted the curtain, bleary-eyed, rubbing her eyes, and draped a cloak over me. "Empress, be careful. Don't catch a chill." She shut the window again and covered my icy fingers with her hands to warm them. I gave her a faint smile. There was noise outside the door. I thought it was dead branches dropping onto the snow, but soon I heard boots crunching over twigs. I thought it was the night patrol. It wasn't. It was the Emperor. He lifted the curtain and walked toward me, unfastening his cloak as he came. Xiaochen looked at me, then at him. She quickly dipped into a bow and left. He stopped in front of me. Snow clung to his dark brows and lashes, and his ears were red with cold. He reached out, took my hand, and rubbed it gently. I lowered my eyes, pried his fingers open one by one, and smiled softly. "Emperor, you've come to the wrong place. This is Phoenixon Palace." He grabbed my chin and forced me to look up at him. "Don't forget, you are still my empress. You have the duty to fulfill the obligations of husband and wife." As he spoke, he leaned in, trying to kiss me. Before his lips could touch mine, I said, "Emperor, don't you feel sick?" His face went white. The deep scar on his left cheek looked sharp and cruel. Sick, a thin mist rose in his eyes. If it were before was too far away. "Yes, every time you touch me, it makes me sick. Sick to the core." A flicker of pain crossed his eyes. It vanished in an instant. "Then endure it." Cold crawled up my spine. He was furious. His hand slid under my collar and down. He tore away my red underbodice. He pinned me against the window. He gripped my shoulders hard, bit my lips, and forced himself into me. I heard the north wind howl. He forced us to be husband and wife. Like a madman, he took me again and again. Again and again, he kissed my tears, hoarse as he said, "Coco, why can't we start over? Start over. If the dead can come back to life, give my family back to me, then we can start over." People in the palace said the empress had gone mad. They said she nearly strangled her own little prince, stabbed the emperor, and set the palace on fire. I was deposed. Alexander Chen took Leo away and raised him himself. I spent a year in the cold palace. Spring dug up all kinds of news. She said the consort ordered the wet nurse to starve the little prince for one meal, then overfeed him the next. He's sick all the time. He's especially thin and frail. The consort tricks him into calling her mother. If he can't say it, she pinches him. He still can't call people. He still can't talk. People in the palace say the former empress was insane, and the child she gave birth to is a fool. I asked, "What about the emperor? Didn't he raise him himself?" Spring said, "The emperor's very busy. He can't keep an eye on everything. You have to find a way out, or the little prince will be bullied to death." I went over and took her hand. "Thank you. You found out everything for me." By chance, Bianca Bai still hadn't been made empress. Her temper was blazing, and she came to take it out on me. I was standing under a tree, using a small clay jar to catch snow off the red plum blossoms. Cold blossoms and cold snow, the tea brewed from it was especially sweet. She lunged over, snatched the little jar, and smashed it on the ground. What a waste! I wiped the meltwater from my hands, then looked at her with a smile. "Long time no see. I've been in the cold palace for a year. You're still just the consort?" Her delicate brows shot up in fury. She raised her hand to slap me. I slapped her back. More than once. She covered her face, eyes wide, unable to believe it. A favored consort at the height of her power, bullied by a discarded empress in the cold palace. Poisonous woman. Once she recovered, she cursed me. Then she turned and beat the servants who'd come with her, ordering them to deal with me. But even she knew what she kept around her. Idiots. Weak maids. How could they handle me? I hit them until they had no strength left to stop me. Then I could focus on Bianca Bai. All I did was grab her hair and slap her until her face swelled. I pressed my cheek against her numb, burning face and laughed softly. What is a consort, really? You dare act wild in front of me? I'm insane. The former empress was insane, and when an insane person kills, it doesn't count as a crime. I pretended to choke her. She shook like a sieve, but her mouth still wouldn't give in. Chloe Lin, if you touch me, I'll have the Emperor wipe out your entire clan. I laughed. You're not even Empress yet, and you think you can wipe out someone's 9 clans? Fine, my 9 clans are already gone. All I have left is the child I bore the Emperor. Oh, consort, are you going to kill a prince? Shout louder, let the whole palace hear you. You? She was so furious she laughed instead. So what? Chloe Lin, you don't know, do you? Even if I kill a prince, nothing will happen. You've been in the cold palace for a year. You have no idea what the world outside looks like now. The court belongs to the Bai family. Back then there were 4 great clans. Now only the Bai remain. The Lin family is finished. The Nan family ran back to their old home and hid. And the Pei family, ever since Adrian Pei died, it's just an empty shell. So if I want to kill a little prince, what's so hard about that? I truly wanted to choke her to death. Then she remembered something. She tapped her knuckles against her head and kept laughing. Ah, right, Adrian Pei and your second sister became a pair of doomed lovers, caught in an avalanche, died together. A pair of filthy lovers. My eyes went red. I tightened my grip and choked her hard. If Spring hadn't thrown herself in to stop me, Bianca Bai wouldn't have lived to see the next day. That night, I burned with fever. I told Spring to find Eunuch Li and beg him to bring an imperial physician. Spring looked as if a weight had been lifted. She clutched my hand and cried. Empress, you finally understand. As long as you soften, the Emperor will take you out. I gave her a bleak smile. Silly girl. Alexander Chen came. He sat on the edge of the bed and pressed a cold towel to my forehead. Spring stood to the side, rubbing her eyes as she sobbed. In the cold palace, she can't eat her fill, she can't keep warm. Today the consort came and hit her. She got so angry Spring was very good at stirring trouble. More than anything, she wanted us out of the cold palace. Alexander Chen's eyes were red. He lowered his head and kissed my fever-hot lips. I softened, just as Spring said. Tears fell. My nose was stuffed up, my head ached, and my voice came out naturally gentle. Alex, let me out. I miss Leo. At last, I saw my Leo again. He still couldn't talk. His body was terribly frail. He feared strangers. Even when he saw me, he didn't recognize me. He shrank back and hid in Alexander Chen's arms. I gently took his little hand. I rubbed my cheek against his thin arm, inch by inch, studying him. His face was pale, paler than the paper from Xuanzhou. His eyes were so black, like huizo ink diluted with water. His lips were soft and moist. His hair wouldn't lie flat. It stuck up, stubborn and straight. A white flash exploded in my heart, and something shattered. He was almost like a smaller, younger, helpless Alexander Chen. Leo, I'm your mother. I lifted my hand and smoothed his unruly hair, strand by strand. Alexander Chen covered my hand with his. His voice caught as he coaxed him. Leo, this is Mother. The person in the world who loves you most. The trembling Leo finally looked up at me. Mother once said that mothers and children share a bond that speaks without words. His clear eyes stared at me. After a long while, he quietly reached out his little pinky and hooked it around my finger. But he was still tense, and he buried his face back in Alexander Chen's arms. My tears wouldn't stop. Leo, from now on, with Mother here, no one will dare bully you again. I wanted my Leo to suffer no wrong in this world. I wanted him to live his whole life in peace. No matter the method, no matter the cost, I left the cold palace. The Bai family panicked. Memorials urging Bianca Bai to be made empress flooded in like a tide. But right then, rumors began to rise inside and outside the palace. Some said the eldest prince was not the emperor's blood. They said the consort had given birth prematurely at 8 months. It was suspicious. They said the consort had once nearly been raped by a certain prince. If you counted the timing, it almost matched. Others said, yes. No wonder the eldest prince looked more like that prince. He didn't look much like the emperor. Others said they had seen the little prince. You can tell at a glance whether a child shares blood or not. Stopping mouths is harder than stopping a flood. Even the Bai family could not calm the rumors. At the same time, a new play became popular in the streets, Guarding Yuzhou. It told a moving love story. A young woman stole a command token for the man she loved, commanded the 3 armies, and rescued him in Yuzhou. In the end, she became his empress. The play was a sensation. People let their imaginations run wild, matched it to reality, and became convinced I was that young woman. This time, public sentiment made me. I became empress again, and Leo was named crown prince. Alexander Chen stayed with me every night. He even taught me how to read memorials and approve them. He taught carefully. I learned carefully. Leo slept sweetly. Soon there would be a grand banquet, splendid fireworks, and a night of revelry. The night before the banquet, Alexander Chen said we wouldn't look at memorials. He carried me to bed and took me without end, all night long. Before dawn, in the hazy light, he kissed me and murmured, "Coco." All I ever wanted was a home. Our home. I spent the day playing with Leo, flying a kite, flicking pebbles, eating spun sugar. He wore himself out. In my arms, his eyes were already half closed with sleep, yet he forced them open. He looked at me and called in his milky little voice, "Mama." Only then did he drift off, sweet and deep. It was the first time Leo had ever called me mother. Before we went to the banquet, Spring pinned up my hair. She whispered, "Empress, the medicine is ready." I gave the mirror a faint smile. "Spring, if you hadn't entered the palace, what kind of life would you have chosen?" She looked dazed, herding on the great grasslands. Magnificent fireworks lit up Jinnan's night sky. Every official in court attended tonight's feast. Everyone tilted their faces up, watching those distant, unreal bursts. I watched too, until my neck ached. And still, I felt these grand fireworks were nothing compared to the weak little fireworks on the night of our third-day homecoming. Alexander Chen looked at me. He reached over, laid his hand over mine, and rubbed gently. "Do you like them?" His voice was as fleeting as the fireworks. The fireworks still bloomed fiercely in the night sky. Bianca Bai, seated below, could no longer sit still. She sprang up and threw her cup to the ground. In an instant, troops in full armor poured in through every gate. Their commander was from the Bai family. Tutor Bai rose slowly at the banquet. Holding up his cup, he smiled at Alexander Chen. "The emperor has been bewitched by the Lin family's demon woman. Today, we will cleanse his side." The banquet erupted. People split into factions. Tutor Bai was formidable. Among the officials, he had 4/10 supporting him. I couldn't help a soft laugh. "Tutor, your eyes have truly grown cloudy." Alexander Chen patted the back of my hand. He smiled, then rose unhurriedly, his face calm. "Tutor, are you rebelling?" Tutor Bai smiled. "I said it. We cleanse your side and set the court right." Alexander Chen gave a cold laugh. "And how will you set it right?" Tutor Bai said, "The consort is virtuous and fit to lead the women of the realm. She is the only choice for empress. The eldest prince was born first, with a pure nature. He should be the heir of the state." "Heh, are you teaching me how to rule? Have you forgotten? I was once your teacher." "They say a teacher for a day is a father for life. When I see you lost, I cannot help but exhaust myself to pull you back." Alexander Chen's face darkened. "Oh, teacher, what if I refuse?" Tutor Bai smiled. "Then don't blame me for using harsher measures." Standing below, he brought his hands together and clapped. The troops moved. They surged toward the high platform. Loyal officials rushed forward to defend their ruler. The scene turned into a standoff. Tutor Bai raised his hand again and pressed the movement down, confident and steady. "Tonight the palace is surrounded. Not even a fly can get in. I advise you all not to resist. Those willing to join me in cleansing the emperor's side, step back now. I will not pursue past offenses." I looked at Alexander Chen. He stared calmly at the officials below, his expression unchanged. No one moved. I was surprised. Alexander Chen truly did have loyal ministers. Tutor Bai's face shifted. He raised his hand again and shouted in his hoarse, muddy voice, "Kill." His troops took a single step forward. Then suddenly, flames flared atop the heights, bright as day. Alexander Chen applauded as he walked to the front of the steps. Smiling, he said, "Teacher, did you just say not even a fly can get in?" The empress was right. Your eyes have grown dim. Please look. On the palace towers, on the rooftops, on the high walls, what do you see? Countless imperial guards held bows and torches, hemming in their prey. One torch lit up a familiar face. Adrian Pei was not dead. He was the commander of the imperial guards. Defeat spread across Tutor Bai's face. He staggered, nearly collapsing backward onto the table behind him. How could this be? How could it be? Tutor Bai was a civil official. He understood strategy and balance, but his student had learned his words, and also fought real battles. The student had surpassed the master. The banquet was washed clean in blood. This time, it was the Bai family's turn to fall. Bianca Bai asked Alexander Chen, unwilling. Why? Why do you favor her? You're not the same. Alexander Chen didn't look at her. He returned to his seat, took my hand, and sat beside me. The splendid fireworks continued. Spring lightly touched my elbow. I poured a cup of wine and offered it to Alexander Chen. He took it. As it reached his lips, his motion paused. A moment later, a gentle smile bloomed at the corner of his mouth. Still smiling, he asked me, Coco, are you happy? I nodded slightly. He tipped his head back and drank it all. I stayed seated. Adrian Pei had finished dealing with the enemy and came to report. But Alexander Chen could not answer him now. I lowered my face so no one could read my expression. Everything was in chaos. Everything was undone. Back at Phoenix Song Palace, Spring rushed ahead of me to hold the waking Leo. I caught her wrist. A cold glint flashed. I gripped her wrist and twisted inward. The icy dagger sank into her lower belly. I sighed softly. Spring, if you were from the river country, why would you want a herd on the great grasslands? You're from Great Long. Spring clutched her wound tight. Her face went ashen. When did you start suspecting me? The moment you entered the palace, you followed me. When I went to the cold palace, you followed me there too. I had no connections left in the palace, yet you knew everything. How could an orphan girl from the river country know so much? Even the poison. I drew the dagger back out. I hadn't struck her heart. If we bandaged her now, she could still live. We were all pitiful people under political struggle. She had been with me for so long. I would send her back to herd on the grasslands. I knew everything. Ever since I started acting insane, I'd known it all. Bianca Bai said the Lin family was gone. I didn't believe her. Alexander Chen told me the Lin family was still alive, in a remote frontier region. He promised me that if I endured 1 year, he would give my home back to me. 1 year had passed. Tonight's banquet. He and I both knew Tutor Bai would rebel. We also knew Spring was from Great Liang and that there were others from Great Liang in the palace. Tonight, we worked together to sweep away every obstacle, to win Leo a bright future so he could live his whole life in the light. Alexander Chen knew everything. No, he did not know I would hand him a cup of poisoned wine. After Adrian Pei finished the cleanup, he came to see me. He said, Coco, do you really think he didn't know? When you went to him back then, you almost drank poison. He was standing by the door, watching. He would never have let you drink it, but he felt he owed you. So if one day you wanted to collect the debt, then collect it. Adrian Pei said a lot more. He said, what choice did Alexander Chen have? His mother was killed by your aunt. He grew up alone in this palace. To survive, he filled his belly with schemes when he was still a child. He only wanted revenge for his mother. What was wrong with that? He jumped into Amber River. Do you think he wanted to? If he could live, who wouldn't want to live well? But if he didn't jump, your aunt would kill him. What choice did he have? Then you appeared and shattered the plan. He used his tricks carefully, afraid you would find out, and afraid you would get hurt. He married Bianca Bai because it was the condition he agreed to with Tutor Bai. Bianca Bai had been taken by Ethan Chen. He promised her a name and status. It was all for the sake of becoming crown prince. If he couldn't become crown prince, he couldn't marry you. At the crown prince's residence, he didn't dare let you get pregnant. Back then, he couldn't protect you and the child. Once he became emperor and you were pregnant, he had to clear every obstacle for your future home. The Lin family and the Bai family had deep roots and tangled branches. They did many things the law and principle could not allow. By law and by reason, they had to be removed. He didn't dare tell you anything. He feared you'd learn he was despicable and leave him. In truth, your Lin family wasn't that innocent either. As the son of heaven, he couldn't avoid dealing with them. He already did everything he could to keep your family alive. He did all of this only to win a bright future for your home. He knew you hated him, yet he still taught you to read memorials and approve them. He wanted that if one day you killed him, you could at least help Leo, so you and Leo could live well. That poisoned cup tonight, he drank it willingly. He paved the road for you and your son. If he died, you two could still live well. No more restraints. He used schemes on everyone, only not on you. I lowered my eyes and rubbed Leo's small palm. If we had never met, would it have been better? We wouldn't have provoked each other. No one would owe anyone. Is that possible? With your aunt's nature, if it wasn't him, it would have been Ethan Chen. If it weren't for that, he might have only watched you from afar his whole life. You were always different people. One lived in darkness from childhood, one lived in light. Not the same. Forget it. Why am I saying all this? Rest early. The physician said he can't be saved. Tomorrow let the ministry begin preparing the funeral. Leo will ascend the throne and you will rule from behind the curtain. Adrian Pai left dejected. Leo suddenly lifted his face. Those black, bright eyes flashed with light. He mumbled, "Where's Daddy?" I rubbed my eyelids, pressed my face to Leo's, and smiled faintly. "Daddy will come back." Adrian Pai froze where he stood. He turned back, baffled, and looked at me. I smiled calmly. A debt for a debt. That time, I didn't drink poison. I drank death-feigning herb instead. This time, it's his turn. Alexander Chen once asked me if we could start over. I said we could, if the Lin family could rise from the dead. I have always kept my word, especially promises made to Alexander Chen. I have never broken them. He woke up, bloodless, stunned. Blankly, he reached out and hooked my pinky. The clever Alexander Chen was foolish again. His voice was hoarse, his eyes rimmed red. He asked, dazed, "Is this just a final burst before death?" I glared at him hard. He studied me, first, and then he began to laugh softly. The sound grew brighter and brighter. "You're a complete fool." He only laughed, saying nothing. Then he braced himself over me, pinned me down and kissed me, long and dense, unbroken. "Daddy, Mama." "Huh?" I heard Alexander Chen say gently, "Leo, be good." He freed one hand to cover Leo's eyes. With the other, he cupped my face and kissed me again, hard. We doubted. We wavered. We wanted to give up. In the end, neither of us did. We kept loving each other, and we began again.